Hello and welcome to this video series on AWS Cloud Development Kit as modern infrastructure as code. So let's begin our discussion by level setting on exactly what I mean by infrastructure as code, which is also commonly referred to as IaC. So infrastructure as code is a representation of a system's architecture components, also known as infrastructure, captured in human readable text that can be fed through an execution engine, resulting in repeatable provisioning of your architecture. So let's expand a little bit more on why infrastructure as code has grown so popular and what value it brings. Well, kind of the overarching theme is it draws from a lot of software engineering best practices. And the first one is it's a common set of executable instructions that serve as both the source of truth and the documentation of your infrastructure. So it's kind of like one thing that holds all the truths to your infrastructure. The next two I really like to lump together. One, it provides consistency via automation, and then through that consistency via automation, it accelerates environment provisioning. On top of that, and honestly, probably the most valuable thing that infrastructure as code gives us is version control. Now that all of our infrastructure is nicely declared in a set of text files, we can actually store that and the configuration therein within it right alongside our application code in version control. And that gives us all the wonderful powers of version control, right? So we have an auditable history of changes that we can look through and time travel with. We have a peer-reviewed process, where we can all reflect upon and discuss changes that go into our infrastructure, either new components or changes to existing components. We can put that through a PR process. So if infrastructure is so great, then why do we see it evolving? Why is there what I'm calling a modern solution to infrastructure as code? Well, I mean, many technologies have successfully executed on the promises of infrastructure as code. Just to name a few of the most successful ones, you have Terraform, Ansible, Chef, Puppet. Even AWS's CloudFormation itself is quite popular and is still a very powerful way to provision cloud architecture. However, all of these require knowledge of a domain-specific language and thus a specialized skill set. So let's talk about Terraform. So Terraform has this sort of interesting pseudo-declarative, pseudo-imperative language that doesn't look anything like anything I've ever seen or written in my days before learning Terraform, right? Not that it's that complicated, but it is just a whole new thing to learn, right? You have to learn the syntax of Terraform. You have to learn the syntax of all these others, be it Chef, Ansible, Puppet, CloudFormation even. Well, AWS's solution to this is the Cloud Development Kit. And the Cloud Development Kit serves as an abstraction over CloudFormation, and it's exposed through interfaces in common high-level programming languages that most developers are already working in. So, the languages that are supported specifically are TypeScript, JavaScript, Java, Python, C#, as well as Go. And AWS claims that they're coming out with more in the future. So no longer do you need to learn a domain-specific language to write infrastructure as code. No longer do you need to context switch in between one language to another just to write infrastructure as code to deploy your applications to the cloud. And so that kind of covers the introduction to infrastructure as code, some of the pitfalls of the more traditional approaches to infrastructure as code, and what AWS Cloud Development Kit hopes to improve upon.